The grotto, they called it. A drop point deep in the Appalachians. A dark and somber cave of slate and moss. It was here I read my latest orders. The paper in my hand felt heavier than it should have. It detailed sightings of a Lycan terrorizing a secluded community deep in the Appalachian wilderness. Missing livestock, strange howls in the night, and a growing sense of dread among the locals. Typical signs, yet always unique in their own chilling way. They call me Cypher. With a name like mine, it's of no surprise that I found myself recruited by the Order. In my short career, I have undergone countless trials, received many scars, and had close calls with creatures most people only whisper about in hushed tones. My last hunt had nearly been my end. A Wendigo in the Smoky Mountains Resort and Spa. It took me a month to recover from the physical wounds, longer still for the mental ones. But now I was ready, or so I told myself. I took a deep breath, folding the paper and slipping it into my jacket pocket. The damp smell of moss and the slow sound of dripping of water on slate broke my reverie. My voice a little louder than I intended, I said to myself,
"It's time to get to work."
With that, I shouldered my pack, picked up my rifle from its spot leaning against the hollowed-out log. My footsteps echoed off the cold floor of the grotto as I made my way, with measured steps to the moonlit aperture leading outside. The night air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and the promise of danger. Another hunt awaited, another battle in the shadows, and I, Cypher, would face it head-on. My heart pumped in my ears as my well-worn boots broke ground down the darkened forest trail. It had taken me a full month to recover from the Wendigo, and I had yet to return to full fitness. Honestly, I probably should not have been given this hunt. The Order, however, was low on choices in the Appalachians at the moment, as incursions in more populated areas close to the cities were becoming more commonplace. This is why I had been contacted despite my lack of full recovery. We had no one else. Slowing my pace as I rounded the bend that led to a small clearing, I stopped to take a knee. Unshouldering my gear, I took a moment to take inventory. Why haven't I done that already, you may ask? I had. The simple reasoning behind the check was that you could never check too much. Preparedness was drilled into you during the Order's training, and before that, the Marines. I had my rifle, silver bullets dipped in wolfsbane, my combat knife, and my bandolier of preventatives. The silver, despite common belief, won't actually kill the Lycan outright, but should slow it and weaken it enough for the combat knife. There are very few things, in my experience at least, that can continue to draw breath with a knife lodged in their heart, followed by a quick application of the Order's fire solution. Such creatures exist, don't get me wrong, it's just that they require teams to bring down, not just one hunter. A blast of cold wind followed by a flash of lightning and a crack of thunder gave an ominous backdrop to the foreboding clearing. Reaching into my bandolier, I pulled out a small vial of brackish gray liquid, a wound regenerating preventative. Although my muscle mass had not yet recovered from the Wendigo hunt, I couldn't take the risk against a foe such as this. Unscrewing the metal cap, my nose was assaulted by the foul-smelling liquid. Steeling myself for the taste, I downed it in one quick motion, feeling the preventative take effect almost immediately. Now all I had to do was wait. If the information given to me by the Watchers was accurate, which it had yet to be an issue, this clearing marked the edge of the Lycan's last known route into the small logging town 3 miles east. Taking another deep breath, I closed my eyes, not willing to rely on them in the current weather conditions. The lightning was playing tricks with my eyes, each strike illuminating the clearing and casting foreboding shadows at the corner of my vision. Straining my ears against the creaking pine trees, I listened, my nerves on a razor's edge. It didn't take too long before the slight rustle of leaves and crack of twigs under a heavy footfall let me know that I wasn't alone. The clearing was only 50 feet across and a little less in length. The sound carried easily enough in the cold conditions. Opening my eyes but not turning my head, as doing so would give away that I had noticed, I glanced out of the corner of my eyes to the right-hand side of the clearing. Huddled at the edge of sight, a dark mass punctuated by eyes that glowed like hot coals, regarded me with predatory intention. My heart raced, and it took an effort of will to slow it down. The Lycan had spotted me. At this distance it would be a tough shot to make, considering I would have to aim first, which means I would have to move and further draw the beast's attention. As I considered my options, another snap of twigs came from the left side of the clearing, the sound drawing the Lycan's swift predatory gaze. Sensing my chance but not being able to see what made the sound, I took my split-second window. Shouldering my rifle as I turned to my right in a smooth motion, I took aim, the iron sights leveling on the beast before me. A half-breath later, my heart hammering, I squeezed the trigger. The deafening crack resonated through the darkness as a silver projectile crossed the distance in a heartbeat to collide center mass with the Lycan. A pained bellow that sounded almost human followed the strike of the bullet as the Lycan snapped its head in my direction. A burst of movement from my left drew my attention as what appeared to be a mountain lion took his hasty retreat back in the oppressive darkness. Dropping my rifle and drawing my blade in a smooth motion, I turned back to my right in time to see the injured Lycan leaped through the air, bellowing with rage as it covered the distance to me within a few moments. Time slowed, as adrenaline pumped through my veins in preparation for the coming close combat. Bringing my blade across my center of mass as I dived to the side, I carved a blow into the Lycan's side, eliciting a howl of anger and pain. The Lycan's razor-sharp claw passed through the air as I hit the ground and rolled up onto my feet in a guard position. The Lycan recovered from the blow and we slowly circled each other, neither willing to make the first move. The Lycan's breath fogged the cool night air, its wounds causing it obvious pain. Heart hammering and lungs burning, my mind raced. This Lycan was of average size, standing only 7 feet tall when bipedal. A juvenile. That certainly explained how it had not landed a hit yet. Cursing myself inwardly at such hubris thoughts, I brought my attention back to the still very real threat loping in front of me. I ducked its next attack, a swipe aimed at my head. I felt the force of the blow as the speed of it caused my hair to ruffle as I took a half step forward and brought my blade up under its armpit, drawing it back in a slicing motion after it had plunged to the hilt. The effect was instantaneous. The Lycan howled in pain as its arm, now useless, dropped to its side. Its other clawed hand held the wound as it poured warm blood onto muddy ground. Its survival instinct kicking in, the Lycan turned on heel and loped across the clearing. Cursing, I took off after it. I could not let it get away as even that wound would heal given enough time. Despite popular opinion, wounds made with silver would heal, it just took time. In my rush, I realized I had made a fatal error. I had left my rifle in the mud. Cursing, I considered my options. Break off pursuit for my rifle, knowing that the beast would have time to heal, or continue pursuit and hope it would slow enough from its wounds. If it went back for my rifle, I would have to track its blood trail, a hard task in the dark through mud but not impossible. If I continued after it, I would be at greater risk but would not likely lose it. Lycans were most dangerous when injured, and it would only take one mistake for the tables to turn. Snapping back to the present, I continued my pursuit, relying on its wounds to slow it. I didn't have to chase for long. The Lycan's path through the woods took it to a steep outcrop of rock that stretched for hundreds of feet in each direction and rose to several hundred feet into the inky blackness above. The Lycan slowed and turned to face me as I approached. My blade work had been effective enough to slow it down. Cautiously, I moved forward towards the cornered beast. A crack of lightning illuminated the beast's ragged form as it stared at me. Its eyes now had lost the burning hatred and had taken on a dimmer countenance of fear. I recognized something in those eyes that I had seen in many beasts like it in my short career. The look of a cursed being who moments before death fought back against its inner beast for a final chance at humanity. With a final sigh, I quickly closed the distance, blade in hand. One final glimmer of life sparked in the creature's eyes, and too late I realized my error. Quicker than I thought possible in its condition, the beast sprung, its claws sinking deep into my chest as my blade found its heart. Gasping with pain, I spat out a mouthful of blood. The Lycan gave a weak howl and fell backward, its claws withdrawing from my ruined chest as both fell in a heap to the ground. Laying on my side, blood streaming from my chest, I coughed painfully, and my gaze locked with the dying Lycan. The light in its eyes was slowly dimming as its life's essence pooled onto the ground, mixing with my own. I felt cold, but the pain surprisingly was gone. I guess the preventatives were not going to save me this time. As the darkness swam in the corners of my vision, I saw the shadow of a human form crouching down next to the Lycan. How long had it been there? My darkening vision flared as the Lycan went up in white-hot flames. The light and heat died down as the figure approached me. The last thing I heard before the encroaching darkness consumed me was a deep, resonant voice.
Sleep now, my friend. Your watch, for now at least, has ended.